Hey everybody, it's Curse and I'm here to bless you with the second part to my new Lich meta builds. If you remember the first one, it was all about massive death wave hits fueled by about 100 or so ignite stacks on our hero. Now this new version is centered around the damned ailment, powered by stacking about 150 to 200 damned stacks on our hero to get roughly about 3000% damned effectiveness thanks to the Pyre of Affliction unique weapon. This surely has to be the first build to make the damned ailment viable in the late game. You can push 400 Monolith with this build. You can see that I'm killing tier 4 Jorah faster than my other build, and you get a ton of style points for wielding a two-handed scythe with a Lich. I hope you like it, and if you do, please like and subscribe. Irashaimase! Alright, before I go into the actual build guide, I have to pay my respects to this weapon and how well it's designed. Just check this out. By default, it's got this orangish color to it, but if you apply damn stacks to your character, it turns this awesome, nice neon blue. EHG really outdid themselves with this one. Well done. Hats off. I love it. You can justify running this weapon just for the style points. Now let's jump into the actual build guide. I'll start with the skills and items first, and I'll go through everything quite a bit faster than the last one, because I'll just highlight the differences between this build and the other one. If I'm going too fast and I'm skipping over important pieces of information, you might want to check out my other build guide. I'll include a link to it right here, right now, so feel free to check it out. Now in terms of skills, remember, now our DPS is mostly based on damage over time. Spirit Plague, pretty much everything is exactly the same. Other than Pestilence, we want to max that out to get a little bit more damage over time. And just a reminder, this is our main source of ignite stacks on our hero, and then we convert those ignite stacks to damn stacks thanks to the unique weapon that we're using. So yeah, everything else is the same. Remember, this is very important and this node is very important. From the Reperform class tree, we take out the multipliers and we move them over to Dark Harvest because we're not running Transplant. So we need a Reap Kill threshold of 18% right here. And then I added a little bit more cooldown for Reap, just to make that kill threshold easier to execute on. Everything else is pretty much the same. On Death Seal, this one is a little bit different. Now we're moving over from Death Waves to Hungering Souls. Our main source of DPS is going to be damned on hit applied by our Hungering Souls. Trash is going to be cleared by the Death Waves because they still apply damned on hit, and they actually hit for quite a bit as well. But otherwise, you rely on the Hungering Souls. And so here's the Hungering Soul skill tree. We want to double our damage over time and then utilize minions to get plus 60% damage here and plus another 150% more damage right here. And this one, remember, you have to have exactly 3 minions. I'm really not a big fan of these two nodes, especially of this one. Having 3 minions exactly as a Lich is not sustainable in the late game. The farther you push up Monoliths or even against Jorah, you can see I take down Jorah to half HP in the first 10 seconds. But the second half of her HP is a nightmare just because I lose one skeleton and I have no way to resummon it. And the damage bonus is just so significant. You lose too much DPS by losing 1 minion. And we also spec into hit damage a little bit as well. Just because we have so much spell damage, it's very much worth it. And finally, Soul Feast. It's pretty much identical to the other build guide. I just put 1 point in damned right here just to have a little bit extra damned. Oh, and by the way, this build's gonna get even better in 0.9 because this node right here is getting an upgrade from what I've seen so far. So I'm not gonna mention anymore because the patch is not final, but there's a good chance this build will get an upgrade in 0.9. We have to have Transplant on the bottom of our skill tab. However, we don't need Hungering Souls, so instead of having Hungering Souls in the skill tab, we have 0 skills Transplant to activate everything else that we need. And now let's go over the items. I'll start with the core items that make this build happen. So first off, we have Malin's Hubris, same as before, it's core. These are the gloves that convert our self-bleed into self-ignite, and then we can convert that to self-dam. Getting cast speed on these is even more important than before because we don't have the cast speed of our weapon and our offhand in the previous build. The belt is still best in slot and required for the build. Even though we don't benefit as much from the adaptive spell damage, everything else on it is just incredibly useful for the build. This is the third core item for the build. You have to have Pyre of Affliction, otherwise the build doesn't work. You can see casting Transplant grants you a bunch of ward and converts every stack of Ignite on you to Damned with 160% increased duration. So that means instead of 3 seconds, our Damned stacks on us last 7.8 seconds. And that's how we can stack up to 220, 240 stacks. And then the next line states, spells you cast while damned have 14% increased damned effect per stack of damned on you. It goes up to 16%. And so 220 stacks times 14%, we have over 3000% increased dam effectiveness. That's 30 times the damage. On top of that, you get 20% fire and necrotic penetration, 22% less fire and necrotic damage over time taken, so that those 200 stacks of damned on us don't end up killing us. And it gives you a little bit of damned on hit. For the other items, I'll go through them fairly quickly. Most of them are the same as the other build. Same ring here. Second ring is very, very similar. The boots are the same. The relic is the same. The amulet is extremely similar. The only major changes you want to make are to your chest piece. You want to get tier 7 applied damned on hit, because there aren't too many sources to get damned on hit. There are some idols, and the main weapon gives you a little bit. There is one passive skill node as well. Really, you're getting majority of it through your chest and helmet. You can see that 2 of the affixes on this item are not that beneficial to the build, but it's still solid because that tier 7 applied damned on hit. Here's a good alternative option, Titan Heart. If you can socket it with tier 7 applied damned on hit, this is a really good option because it decreases damage taken while wielding a two-handed melee weapon by 15%. And you can see that will apply because we're wielding Pyre of Affliction. For helmet, you want to get applied damned on hit and death seal. In this case, I would actually say we prefer tier 7 applied damned on hit and tier 5 death seal. Plus 2 to death seal is sufficient for the build. Getting a little bit of cooldown speed recovery is great just to get your transplant down from 4 seconds to 3.5. I think that's the sweet spot. And yeah, that's it for the items. In terms of idols, you want these apply damned on hit idols. I have a little bit of cooldown recovery for transplant and then less damage over time taken. You can see I have another one here with 7 vitality and another damned on hit. Some health and resistances, health, and just maxing out resistances with these other little ones. And blessings are exactly the same as the other build. And let me show you the skill rotation real quick. So before you jump into the enemy, you want to get your armor by casting a few spirit plagues and then casting Soul Feast. So you can see it jumps off from 1k to 10k. And then remember to always keep your armor up by occasionally clicking Soul Feast. And so once you have your armor up, you can just activate all your other skills. And then hold your teleport down so that you can convert your ignite stacks to damn stack. And now let's check out what kind of ailment damage we can deal. You can see it goes up to like 1.5 mil ticks. And finally, let's go over the passives. There are a few minor changes compared to the other build. The most notable one is here, where you get damn chance on hit, 36%, and a little bit of necrotic damage. This is the same as before. And on this Lich skill tree, we basically just move away from spell damage and move towards damage over time nodes. So this node, for example, this node still has damage over time. We also move away from critical strike chance and critical strike multiplier. But all in all, the passive skill tree is incredibly similar to the other build. And we've made it to the end of the build guide. As usual, I'll leave a monolith running in the background. In this case, it's corruption 300 as I didn't have time to push it, but you can certainly get it to at least 400, probably even higher. This build guide was short and sweet, so if you feel like I didn't explain something in enough detail, please check out my other Lich build guide. In that one, I explain in much more detail how the build functions and how all the skills and items interact together to make it happen. But these kinds of builds are exactly what I love so much about last Epoch. There's so much freedom to explore, and even in a state where we've had the same patch for the last 6+ months, we can still find room to innovate, try new things, and even find new builds that are very much late game viable. So thank you EHG for giving us such a great way to express our creativity. And since this video was so short, I'll take a moment to talk about future plans. So with the next video, I'll finish up my 3 different Lich builds that are offshoots from this type of playstyle. And I think many of you can already figure out what the third one's gonna be, but that's okay. That's part of the fun. And after that, I'm going to switch pace a little bit. I'm planning on creating a couple of farming guides just to get everybody ready for 0.9 multiplayer patch. We're all starting from 0, so I'll have a guide focused around how to get from 0 to all of the end game items that you need. After a couple or so farming guides, I'll go back to build guides. I'm hoping to release as many as I can before March 9th, just because after that I'll be focused on playing on the new server, so I won't have time to share some of my builds from this current patch. After the farming guides, I'll go into a brand new class I haven't shared any build guides on, most likely Mage. And again, it's going to be a build that nobody else is running, with some really cool uniques that are being utilized as best in slot. So if you're liking my content and any of this sounds exciting, please subscribe, click the like button and all that good stuff. Either way, I appreciate each and every one of you. Take it easy. Kočiso sama dešta.